UCLA is a university with unlimited possibilities for students that desire world-class academics and research, unmatched diversity, incredible cultural and social opportunities, successful alumni and career networking, first-class campus facilities, plus America's top intercollegiate sports teams. Located in Westwood, just a few miles from the Pacific Ocean, UCLA's 1 square mile campus is surrounded by famous cities such as Bel Air, Beverly Hills, Brentwood, and Santa Monica.
Hi everybody, welcome to Westwood for another edition of UCLA Bruin Talk. Alongside Allison Taylor, I'm Dave Marcus. We're going to feature a couple of sports that everybody thinks they can do, but not too many people can do well. And we're going to talk about what it takes to excel in those sports when we continue with our guests in just a moment. Before we meet our first guest, let's take a look at the upcoming events. Take the agility and body control of gymnastics, throw in some unpredictable elements, and add in a surface that feels like concrete if you hit it wrong, and you've got diving summed up. We've got the coach of the Bruin diving team, Tom Stebbins, joining us. 14th season at UCLA, and Coach, I'm still amazed at the precision of your sport, how they do it.
Well, yeah, you would have been more amazed on Tuesday with all the winds and everything else that were blowing around, but it's a lot of time and a lot of work and a lot of practice, and then you got to get a little bit lucky. So.
You were a psychology major at Yale, and you were a great diver there for 4 years, but I guess psychology comes in pretty healthy when you're talking about diving. It's a real razor-thin edge that separates success from failure in diving.
I think so, and I think that they're finding more and more that that what goes on between the ears affects kind of even bigger and stronger athletes. So I think that while I think the functionality of what we do and how we prepare and how we get ready to be, I guess, perfect in the moment. You have to build that mind piece just as well. And I don't know that it's really any different in any other sport.
Dave mentioned your tenure at Yale as a student athlete. Tell us a little bit about how your experience has affected and shaped how you coach now.
Well, I was lucky. I grew up in Connecticut, so when I started diving, I actually didn't start until I was a freshman in high school. I played soccer. I thought that's what I would do collegiately, quite honestly. And I didn't start diving full-time until my junior year in high school. And I was really lucky to have a great technical coach who was the college coach at Yale. And so kind of the recruitment started there. I really had no idea where I wanted to go to school. I was the first in my family to go to college, and so the doors were really wide open for me. I think I applied to 14 or 15 different places, and I was lucky to get into the one that I got into and got to stay home. And so I think technically I learned fundamental pieces that were really important. I was brought along, I thought, quickly without being overly rushed. Which I think is really important, and that's the biggest difference, I think, between having some of the kids that we have. We tend to either get kids that have been in the sport for a really long time, for 10 or 12 or 14 years, and then we get some kids who are just starting and have only been in it for a couple of years. The in-betweens, we'd love to have more of, but we seem to not.
You mentioned you played soccer and expected yourself to play at the collegiate level, but you got into diving. How did you get into diving? What made you start going into the pool?
Well, there's a lot of diving in soccer. I've watched
there is some, but that's not how. I actually, I was so focused on soccer, and there wasn't as much club, I think, opportunity as there is now to play year-round and to do different things. So I played club up until I went into high school. When I got into high school, I played varsity soccer. I thought that I would run track and in the spring to kind of get myself in shape. And I had a bunch of friends who were swimmers, and they swam kind of during the winter season. So I went and I tried to do that for one day, and I thought I was going to die and decided that I would throw myself off the diving board instead, just to kind of have something to do. And that's where it started. And I was really lucky. I kind of fell in love with the sport right away, and have been with it kind of ever since.
Those of us who don't have a technical background in diving, we watch the Olympics. The Olympics are coming up next summer. Diving is always a big draw at the Olympics, but we all watch the divers go and say, hey, that looked pretty good. And then we hear 15 minutes of why it wasn't good. Talk about the razor-thin things that have to be done to make a successful dive. I mean, how many times do you go over and over to make sure you get those fine points down?
Well, what you hope, and what we try to do in our program, and I think most programs do, is you build all of the pieces and you build them individually and separately. So a lot of our work we do in the gym. We spend a couple of mornings a week where we go in for about an hour and we just do a lot of core work, a lot of positioning work in the mirrors. Over at Yates, and then we do a lot of somersaulting. And kind of different phases of the year, we kind of, different parts. And when we get in the water, the first thing we do every day is to work at entries. And then we start to do some board work, and then we kind of move into the somersaulting. So depending on what phase we are, we'll spend more time doing some of that foundational stuff or some of the somersaulting stuff. And then, of course, at the end, we do a lot of just diving, which is, full list and stuff like that.
Is it oversimplistic to think that we should watch the size of the splash to determine the effectiveness
No,
of the dive?
there's a high correlation to what you're talking about. And it's obviously, it's easy to see when somebody makes a mistake and when they miss. And even at the Olympic Games, nobody's immune to it. I mean, when you're standing there and the lights are on and the pressure's kind of mounting and you may have to be perfect. We were lucky enough to watch Laura Wilkinson do that. My God, it's now been a long time. I think it was 2000. But it required not only her being perfect, but then other people making some mistakes. But you're the one who has to stand there on the day, and our world isn't any different. I mean, I think that everybody has their own Olympic moment. It may not actually be in the Olympic Games, but for a lot of these kids, being at a conference championship or at the NC2A meet certainly is their moment in the sun and their chance to really truly shine.
One of your standout freshmen this year, Amira Ganja, has qualified to the Zone E championships, and in previous years, Laura Wynn, who was also a successful diver here, my roommate actually a year, has qualified as well in the past. Explain to us what the Zone E championships are, why they're so important to divers.
Well, for us, that's our chance to move on. So we don't have what swimming has, which is everybody puts their times down on paper and then you see and they invite the best kids. There's a cap and a limit to how many people are invited to the NC2A meet in the entire swimming and diving championship. Of that, diving gets 41 spots. And so unfortunately for us, the world is a little bit result oriented, and so the way your zone has spots are based on the way your zone performed the year before. We've had a couple of really thin years where we had really good kids but didn't bring back spots. This year we have 8 spots, which is big for us. That's kind of where we were a few years ago. And I think the timing is just right in terms of Emma and maybe even Paulina having a chance. So they'll earn a score and then they qualify to the zone meet. When you get to the zone meet, there's a descending order in how they choose who gets to go. The winner on tower is the first spot. The winner on 3 meter is the second spot. The winner on 1 meter is the third spot. And then it goes back to 3 meter and it alternates back and forth on 3 meter and 1 meter until the 8th spot, and then it goes back to tower. So those spots are all the automatic spots. If you finish in the top 3 of any of the springboards and in the top 2 on tower, you automatically get the invite. After that, it becomes a little harder to define, but essentially what happens is if you get doubles or triples, if you have kids who win all 3 events, it'll push it down to 9, 10, 11, 12, and so forth. And so you could end up going down as far as the 5th or the 6th spot on one of the springboards and maybe the 3rd spot on tower, but that would really require a little bit of luck. So our goal at the end of the year will be obviously to be in one of those automatic spots and hope that it's good enough.
UCLA has a beautiful, fairly new facility, the Speaker Aquatic Center, its 2nd year of operation. And tell us how your life as a coach got better when that beautiful facility opened up on campus.
Well, for me, I mean, not having to get into a van and drive my team out to the Rose Bowl 3 times a week, which is what we did. That was not the closest tower, but it was the only acceptable tower. Obviously, USC has one, but we weren't going to go train over there. So for us, you know, we'd climb into a van at 12:30 on Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. We'd get back to campus around 4:30 or 5 o'clock. Most of the time they'd do weights kind of right after that. So that was a really long day for them. For me, it's just created a greater opportunity, I guess, to do some administrative office work, which we all know as coaches we don't love to do, but is necessary. I think the one thing we miss about kind of the drive out is kind of the bonding and some of the conversations that we had, and that's something that I've tried to work through and address this year a little bit more with the team. I didn't realize how important that stuff was, just in terms of the team getting to know each other and me getting to know them, and then learning little things about them that allowed me to maybe push or challenge or press buttons just a little differently than I do now, or I could now. But of course, obviously having the ability to do tower instead of only on the days where you have access to it. I think we've got twice as many springboards as we had in the old pool. So we really have increased our workload, and so getting to repetition. I mean, our sport is built on repetition, so the more you can do of high quality kind of things, the better off you're going to be. And then finally, I think we've had access to a much higher level of recruit than we were able to have access to in the past. Not to say good, bad, or indifferent, but the reality is that we've got kids who are a lot more accomplished who are looking, and that's been great to have.
One of your personal coaching mantras, which I think is pretty public, is that luck sits at the intersection of hard work and opportunity. Yeah. How do you think this philosophy pushes your divers to perform at their best, both athletically and in the classroom here at UCLA?
Well, athletically, it's always a challenge. Like I said, I mean, for us, and I talk to my team about this a lot. You know, when the time it takes to do a dive, when you stand set on the end of the board, you start to make your first movement, and the time you hit the water, you're talking between maybe 3 and 5 seconds, and you're doing that 6 times, and that essentially is going to be what your score is. 30 seconds worth of performance, you know, is pretty minimal when you talk about the hours and hours that you spend training. I think that to give yourself that chance and to give yourself the opportunity to have the luck that you hope or desire, the success that you desire, sometimes requires a little bit of luck, and we don't like to rely on it. We try not to say that this is going to be the only piece we have, or we're going to need that, you know, in order to succeed. But the reality is that, you know, the competition has gotten deeper. The conference in the zone are brutally strong, and it's very different than some other parts of the country, other regions, but we kind of relish that, and we want to jump in and kind of be part of it. And so by working as hard as you possibly can in every moment, and that's a variable, because if they're overloaded in school and they've got a ton of midterms, or they're struggling with papers, or they're having, you know, if they've got a bunch of midterms or finals, you have to find ways to kind of get the most you can out of them and then cut them loose. That's what we've kind of found.
Tell us about the moment. Take you back to your diving days. Tell us about the moment when you're right on the edge and you're about to go. What's the mental checklist that's going through your mind, or are you just trying to clear your mind?
Well, everybody's a little bit different, and you hope that you get to a place where your mind is totally calm and quiet. I think that that's where you're optimizing your performance, when you don't have to really think, when you're not reacting and you're just flowing. And that sounds kind of weird and a little bit kind of hokey, but that's the reality. I mean, is that you want to be so well trained and so versed and so you want to know exactly what the next piece is, and if everything just clicks just the right way, then it happens on its own, and you don't have to think about it at all.
Coach, fascinating. Always like talking to you about diving. It's an amazing sport, and congratulations on your 14 years at UCLA.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And
now,
a nice ring buoy tie.
Thank you very much. And now we're going to step aside. We're going to get our minds clear and empty of any thought, and we'll come back in a few minutes after these public service announcements.
A trophy can be made just about anywhere. But there's one place where champions are made. UCLA, champions meet here.
Welcome back to Bruin Talk. It's now time to honor our Student Athlete of the Week. This week, we honor Lainey Guerra of the women's volleyball team as our Student Athlete of the Week. A senior, Lainey entered the 2011 campaign 3rd in Bruin history in digs with 1,394. At the libero position, she consistently posts double figures in digs. In the team's NCAA second-round win over San Diego, She notched 19 digs and had a career-high 4 service aces in the team's NCAA first-round win. Congratulations, Lainey, and good luck to the rest of the team. If you would like additional information about UCLA athletics, please visit our website at uclabruins.com.
And we're very pleased to be joined by a couple of members of the very exciting UCLA women's soccer team joining us on Bruin Talk. We say hello to Crystal Shaffey and Chelsea Stewart. Welcome to Bruin Talk.
Thank you.
Crystal, you played 6 games this year after redshirting your freshman season. What did it feel like to actually get out there on the pitch?
It was so great. It's nice to be able to play around all your teammates and all your friends, and after so long of just practicing, to actually be able to go out there and do the fun stuff, it's the best feeling ever.
And Chelsea, you have a lot of international experience, 20 caps for Canada's team, and you had a couple of goals this year. They're both game winners. That's a pretty good way to break in.
I didn't realize.
How about that?
It's a good one. It's fun to be on a new team. I transferred here from another institution, so I don't know. I'm just enjoying the Bruin experience right now.
Well, you went to Vanderbilt your freshman year, and then you came to Westwood. UCLA's had a great soccer program, but Jill Ellis left to move on to the national team. So it was a transition year for UCLA. Worked out pretty well, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It was a transition year for me and the team, so it kind of made things a little bit more smooth.
This year was Coach Snow's first year at the helm as head coach and was obviously incredibly successful. As athletes, what do you guys think he provided to the team to ensure wins and goals and that you guys progressed throughout the season?
I would say the biggest part, or the biggest challenge he had to deal with this year was integrating all the new freshmen we had into the team of upperclassmen. And I think he did a really good job because we have such a young team and it's so inexperienced. And I think because of his leadership, the freshmen picked it up really quick. And he's been around here for so long that it wasn't so much of a huge change for everyone who's already here. So I think that altogether, yeah, that was probably the biggest challenge, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and he brought a bunch of different things to the table. He's got a highly competitive spirit about him, and it just kind of filtered all the way through the team, and he also just brings enthusiasm out there. So every day you're challenged to do your best, and not only challenged, but you're having fun doing it.
Chelsea, Crystal mentioned something about the team being very young, 12 freshmen on the team this year, but you also had 5 seniors who have moved on, including Canadian Sydney Leroux, who is going on to the national team, and she'll have great things ahead of her. What is the challenge for you now as your team gets ready to play next year without those 5 key seniors who've moved on?
It's always tough to lose players like that, and especially at the caliber of our senior class. They were instrumental to our success this season so far, or this season in general. So I think now that the freshmen and our team has 1 season under our belt, we can just build off of that. So again, we'll be young next year. We have, I think, 8 freshmen coming in, so we'll just build off the experience that we gained from this year and hope to learn more.
Crystal, in high school you ran track, if I'm not mistaken, as well as played soccer. How do you think that form of cross-training has kind of aided your soccer game, especially here at the collegiate level?
One of the biggest changes from high school level or club level to college would definitely have to be fitness. It's something we work on all the time. And when you're with all the best soccer players, it means you're with some of the fastest girls in the country. So running track really helped me because you learn the right ways to run. You learn how to build endurance. I would really suggest it to anybody who wants to play college soccer. So yeah, it was very beneficial.
What was that the biggest change from high school to college, was working with the speed of the game?
Yes, the speed of the game, not necessarily the fitness. But it's so much faster, and the girls are bigger and stronger. It's soccer, but it's to a whole new level.
Chelsea, I made a joke in the first segment of our show today about there's a lot of diving in soccer, and I told you about that when you came in. You said, yeah, men's soccer. Not on the women's side?
I said some people dive.
Okay.
Chris gave the men's soccer, but
Throw me into the class.
we can't really, I mean, there's a lot of diving in soccer in general, I guess, but
It's part of the game. It's part of the culture.
Yeah.
You just gotta move on from it if it happens.
How about the difference between playing in college and playing on the international level? What's been the biggest difference between the two?
The biggest difference for me is with the national team, I'm the youngest player. So I'm stuck with the technical, I guess, freshman duties. So coming to school here, I don't have to do that. It's kind of nice not to worry about that and all of that. But it's a lot the same, too. You still have all the people working together in the team unity and things like that. It's just sometimes there's a difference between having to set an example and having to learn from people who are above you. So for me here, it's been a bit of both, being in a new situation, but also having such a young class, or so many young people with us too.
So you mean on the national team, you're unloading the bags off the carousel at the airport, things that a freshman would do in college?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow, we didn't know that.
And if you don't do it, you get put in your place pretty quickly.
Yeah. How about the pomp and the circumstance of the FIFA Women's World Cup? I mean, that's got to be incredible.
It was fun. Yeah, it was a lot of different emotions going into it. For us, we were lucky we got the opening match against Germany, and so we got a little bit extra of an experience, I guess. When we landed in Berlin the first day, we got off the plane and paparazzi were just following us. We've never had any cameras around the team ever, and so that was weird. But playing in front of that many people and for people who love the game, it's fun.
Followed by paparazzi. It's just like being a Bruin, right? You're from San Jose. What caused you to come to UCLA? What made your decision to come down to Westwood?
I would definitely say being in LA, being at a school that's not only athletically known, but the academics are amazing. And a big part for me was Jill and BJ, both of them, because if coaches ever change at a different school, you have to be prepared that you love the school itself or the assistant coach, and I loved BJ from the beginning as well as Jill, so it definitely worked out for the best.
You guys had an incredible season, which unfortunately ended in a heartbreaking loss to University of San Diego in PKs. Tell us a little bit about your emotions. How do you pick yourself up after that and move on to off-season training to ensure that that doesn't happen again next year?
I think right after it, following it directly, everyone kind of needed a mental break. It kind of takes a toll on you when you lose a game like that. So I think right now some of us are in the middle of taking a break from it, and then coming back from it. It's something every athlete has to learn. So in the spring, I guess we'll just come back together and try and piece things back.
Looking forward. I feel like that's the biggest thing that could bump you back up after a loss like that, is just everyone's excited to get next year going and hopefully come out with a better result.
Your sport really starts early. I mean, you're on the pitch a month before school starts. Usually in August you start playing your first games. It's a long way away from now, but what does the off season look like? What kind of things do you do to keep in shape and to train for the next year?
We play indoor soccer a lot, which brings the speed of play higher. We run a lot. We do weights. A lot of the girls will just go out and play by themselves. It's a lot of responsibility on your own because you can only practice with the coaches or with the team a certain amount because of NCAA rules. So you have to take the initiative to go out and make sure you keep your touch through off season.
And Chelsea, are you doing work with the national team between now and when the next college season comes around?
Yeah, I actually go to camp tomorrow.
Wow.
I finish my last final tomorrow, and then we have a camp actually in LA, so that made it convenient, but I'll be there with them and hopefully Olympic qualifiers in between there.
Who were some of your soccer idols as you were growing up? Who did you look up to?
Oh my goodness. My biggest soccer idol is Julie Foudy. When I grew up in Colorado for a while, and she always brought out a bunch of the national team players and had the Julie Foudy camp, and so all the players around my area swarmed to go to it, and she's just a great athlete to look up to in general. She's got the right attitude, and she's a good player in general.
And Crystal, how about you? When did you realize that you were going to be a soccer player at the college level, and who did you look up to?
Well, soccer was always in my family, so I knew that I loved it from an early age. And back when we were really little, we had the WSA, so we got to watch Brandy Chastain, and she's from my area, and like Mia Hamm, obviously those women idols were always someone to look up to. And as you get older, it's more like the boys, people in the English Premier League, like Messi. So who else? We have a list on our apartment wall. We live together of like players that we both love to watch.
I know that here on campus, the UCLA men's and women's soccer teams are very close. You guys are out at each other's games supporting each other nonstop. Tell us how important that relationship is with the cross-gendered team to you guys.
It's nice. Some of our best friends are on that team, and we couldn't be more proud of them for being in the Final Four right now. Wishing them luck. And it's nice because we get to go out and train with them, we get to run with them, we get to play with them, and a lot of times the boys are quicker and faster, so it makes us better.
Chelsea, we talked about the World Cup in Germany, but you also participated in the Olympics too, in Beijing. What was that like?
I was an alternate. I didn't actually get to be on the team out there.
Did you get to make the trip?
But yeah, I did. We got to make the trip, but we were kind of a glorified fan, I guess you would say. We got to, we didn't get to train with the team. We had to do our training on the side, and so we had someone else travel with us, and we also got to go see all the other events and be fans on the side. So
that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it was, I mean, I'm not complaining. It was a good mix.
Yeah. Well, the Olympics coming up in London next summer, and you said the qualifying, that's the process that you're in now?
It's in Vancouver.
That's
fantastic. Back home in Canada, so it'll be at the end of January if things go well. Still, team rosters haven't come out yet.
Is that going to be outside or inside?
It's going to be outside.
Really? Well, Vancouver.
On turf,
I mean, Vancouver can be cold or it can be nice in January. So
it's got a lot of rain.
Yeah. Well, it's probably good training for London, huh?
Yep.
What would you say as you look back on the season? What were some of the best memories you had over this? 16-1-4. You can't complain about that. At home, what were some of the memories that you take after this season?
I would say my favorite memory would just be our pre-games with the team. It's a moment where the coaches step outside, where the energy's there, where some of us are dancing, some people can't talk, but you feel like the reason why everyone's playing, like the energy's in the room and everyone can't wait to go outside and put everything we've practiced for out on the field. It's a good sense of community. Everyone comes together.
Well, congratulations again on a terrific season, and we look forward to more great things from UCLA women's soccer. And we're glad you joined us on UCLA Bruin Talk. Allison and I will be back next week with another great show. Until then, so long from Westwood.